Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack. FloTrackPodcast at gmail.com is our email address. And Gordon, we got some big news today to kick off the show.
Yes. News. I love news, man. Anytime we get news during this time of the year or any time of the year of 2020, it's a great day to have news because that's what we need. We need news. We don't have as many run races and track meets and cross country meets, but we got news. It's a good day. What's the news?
Yeah, the news is this. Two-time NCAA individual champion from New Mexico, Weini Kelati, is going pro. She signed with Under Armour and will join the Dark Sky Distance group out in Flagstaff, Arizona. Your first thoughts, your first reactions to this news?
Surprised, but also not surprised at the same time. It makes sense. I think she's striking while the iron is hot. And, you kind of think about her, where she is in her shoes, where she's like, okay, I have a cross-country season that are coming up, but it's going to be weird. You have the indoor cross-country double. She's already been at school for, I think, 4 years now. So all these extra years of eligibility that she has in cross and indoor and outdoor kind of feel like she's already accomplished what she wanted. She got her individual title, especially on the cross-country scene. So when an offer comes out for her, it's kind of hard to refuse. It's kind of hard to prioritize another NCAA title over a paycheck and a career in running. Not many people get a career in running. A lot more people will win NCAA titles than sign professional track contracts. So that's a win in itself, being able to get a professional contract. And it looks like she fell in love with the team out in Flagstaff, and she's joining Under Armour, the Dark Sky Distance team. They have a lot of they have another, notable international NCAA 10K runner in Sharon Lokedi. So teaming up with her will be fun for her. She's raced against her multiple times in the NCAA scene, but I like the move for her. She's already done what she needed to do in New Mexico, and now it's on for bigger and better things. And hey, it's hard for international NCAA athletes a lot of times to get contracts, and she got one. And this is a big day for her. So I'm happy for her. Happy for Under Armour. They got a good athlete, and should be an interesting next few years to see what she can do training on U.S. soil in Flagstaff, and how many Olympic teams she can make, and how she can improve her times now training on the professional schedule as opposed to the New Mexico schedule.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this before because of the current situation in the world right now. There's so much uncertainty around professional contracts, and it took a while for us to see the first person actually get signed. And I'm sure that just added to her motivation. If a deal is out there, to get it, sign it, make sure you lock something in. We saw 2 NCAA titles for Weini Kelati. I'm guessing we could have seen at least 2 more if she continued throughout her career, possibly maybe 3, 4 with indoor, outdoor, and cross country. She certainly would have been the favorite in the spring cross country championship. We talked about her doing the 5,000 cross country double, then outdoors, obviously the 10,000. She is the reigning champion. She would have been the favorite there too. But this is an interesting move for her. You mentioned her future internationally. She's the fastest person right now in the 5 and 10 in Eritrea. If you go back and you look over the last couple of years, so really all she needs to do to make Olympic teams is hit that standard. So now the focus can completely turn to getting under 15:10 in the 5,000, getting under 31:25 in the 10,000, and then she's on teams. She doesn't need to worry about going through a trials process, and she's going to get that international experience. I think long-term, she's got a really promising future on the roads as well, too. I've said that ever since we went and filmed a workout with her last year, and she dropped both Lincoln and myself when we were riding bikes. Granted, we were not accustomed to the altitude. She was, so I want a rematch at some point. She just looked so smooth, so efficient when we saw her. I thought this is someone who's going to be good at the roads eventually when she gets to that point. But I think anytime you can get somebody who's going to be making teams, and finishing potentially top 15, top 10 internationally, that's important, right? Just because getting to that race is so much of the battle in high level track.
Yeah. I mean, it's also going to be interesting to see, does she take a leap forward? Like, how big of a leap forward does she take? Is it going to be a small leap forward or big? Because right now, when she's racing the NCAA system, she was definitely in a different class the past few seasons, especially basically ever since outdoor 2019. She was what she got. I think she got like third and second in indoors in 2019, and then outdoors she just won the 10K and then rode that into cross country, and no one could touch her in cross. Even though she did actually, I looked it up, she did lose an I think the pre-nat or nutty comb last in 2019, but then clearly it was a fluke because she went on to, I think she lost to Alicia Monson. Yeah. But then she went on to win NCAAs handedly. But yeah, I'm excited to see what she looks like when she starts racing better, faster, bigger competition. Will she started kind of getting her feet wet in that world. She's been doing the Millerose 3K a few times. She entered that Prefontaine race.
Yep.
Was it a 3K that they were running?
Yep.
I think. So she's already starting to get her feet wet on the pro circuit, but now she being fully focused, ready to go. We'll be able to really see what her potential is. I don't think we know yet. We still have to wait. I mean, we might find out later this week when she's running. I think she's running the 10K at the track meet, probably going for a Olympic standard. We'll be able to see like, oh, okay, yeah, she's automatically a player right away. We just have to wait and see. It's unknown. I mean, it's unknown for all these athletes. Let's be honest. None of them have run in a year. They could be out of shape or they could be in the best shape of their life. We have no idea. So it's really hard to put the gambling line on her is unknown right now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as two paths. She really focuses on the 5 and 10, and maybe even more in the 10 because it seems like she really excels in those longer distances. And she's never really been pushed at the collegiate level to she's run so many races where she's just out front by herself, basically, is my point. And even in that NCAA race last year, it was very dramatic at the end with Cardama Baez closing on her in the very end. But that was after Kelati had this really, really, really big lead, and then Baez catches her, and then she jets away there at the end. So she really hasn't had a ton of experience running fast 10,000 meter races. So I think one path for her would be she focuses on the 10. Like I said, she's going to be able to make teams. She gets in an Olympics, she gets in a World Championships, and maybe we've seen that anything can happen in those races. Maybe she's able to squeak out a really, really good finish, or she goes to the roads, and maybe she's someone who has in the marathon, can run 220 low in the marathon and makes a career that way as well too. Like there's two good paths available for her, but I feel like we're kind of seeing the beginning because of just you're right. This last year, she's been running a lot of races where she's been doing a lot of the work, running hard from the front. And now, like you said, starting this weekend at the track meet, she's just going to get to hop in and kind of get pulled along for the ride, which will be a good test for her early on in her pro career.
Yeah, imagine what it feels like to be able to sign on the dotted line that you're going to be a professional athlete. She probably signed it a few days ago or a week ago. And you also get to be like, looks like I don't have to sign up for the Zoom semester of spring classes at New Mexico. She can be like, oh, thank God I don't have to worry about taking, calculus 304 or whatever she's studying.
I think she's done. I think she's done with school. I think that was part of it. Like I think she graduated and finished up last year. So I think she's good on all that stuff. The altitude though, going to Flagstaff won't be as big of an adjustment because she's been at Albuquerque these last few years. So that makes sense too from a training standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, from a NCAA standpoint, she had 2 years of eligibility in cross left. I believe
Hmm.
she had 2 years of indoor left because everyone gets a mulligan for the indoor season. And she had 2 years of outdoor left. So she's kind of leaving with a full half of a career of NCAA left on the
Hmm.
table. Um, Goes to show how important it is to get a contract when you can. Um,
Yeah.
and that, you know, typically you don't, I mean, we've been kind of going through hills and valleys of distance athletes going pro early. You know, you have like
Hmm.
a Donovan Brazier going after freshman year, and Clayton Murphy left after 3 years. Bryce Hoppel, I think, left early as well. Um, but normally it's like you leave right away or you wait till all 4 years are done. Um, Weini Kelati's kind of leaving really halfway through, but COVID kind of made it. She technically feels like she's already completed everything because she's kind of like already a senior. She's already graduated, but
Hmm.
it is kind of looking at it. You're like, whoa, she still could have. You know, she says she could have won 2 or 3 more NCAA titles. She could have won a lot more. She could have won 2 more cross country titles. She could
Hmm.
have won two or three more track outdoor titles, 2 indoor titles. So she could have turned into the Ed Cheserek on the women's side of racking up NCAA titles. But hey, money is better than an NCAA participation trophy.
Yeah. Well, once you've proven it,
Yeah.
then hey, I can be an NCAA champion. Hey, I'm the best runner in the NCAA, which it kind of brings us to our next point. What impact is this going to have on the NCAA scene? Because if she did stay, who would have been her competition? The next top returner was Whitney Orton, who got 7th, and Whitney Orton's a great runner, but I think we all would have favored Kelati in that matchup. Let's start first, though, looking at how this impacts New Mexico, because this is a team that you said would be on the podium and potentially could have crept their way into the national title picture as well too, with Kelati, with some key transfers, and with just the experience that Joe Franklin brings to the table. I'm guessing, I haven't looked at your spreadsheets, but I'm guessing, Gordon, on your spreadsheets that you take Kelati out, you're essentially adding 50, 60 points to New Mexico's team score. Does this take them out of the podium conversation for next year? Assuming there is a cross-country season, which we're going to
I
assume for the
mean,
purposes of this episode.
it definitely takes him out of the like NCAA title hunt because like you're adding
Mhm.
50 or 60 points. They did have a lot of depth. That's for sure. New Mexico still was going to be a good team. They still return a bunch of guys, ladies, not guys, ladies. They still have some good transfers coming in. Um, I mean, New Mexico is going to be New Mexico with or without Kelati, right? They're going to continue to. I mean, they're able to have Edna Kurgat leave and still shine after that. They'll be able to still be
Mhm.
good here. They definitely had, though, an opportunity to win. I think that opportunity is much less now. Like you said, they
Mhm.
add 60 points basically to their score because they're replacing their number Weini Kelati with their 6th woman. If you look at it that way, it's like okay, that's a big
Mhm.
difference, right? A 1 stick versus your 6 stick. So, um, I think they're still going to be in the podium contention, but I think they're going to be like a good day is 4th or 3rd, and a bad day is 12th. You know, I think they'll be in that
Right.
range. Again, it's still unknown. We don't know who's running, and the whole spring cross country season is weird from the get go anyway. But
Yeah.
it definitely takes them out of the challenging NC State and Stanford world, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that tracks, and it's not like. Well, actually, I don't know because I don't know how things are going this year. But it's not like you can immediately throw in a grad transfer to fill her spot. It seems like that would be difficult to do. It's not like this happened at the very end of track season, and then you have time to
yeah,
fill somebody in. We are at the end of the semester, but it seems like it'd be pretty difficult to immediately plug somebody in for a March championship there. So which teams then now can creep in on the women's side? Well, let's just talk cross country first, and then we'll go and talk track. Which teams will be able to take advantage of this?
again, NC State and Stanford. it was like a three-way championship battle between NC State, Stanford, New Mexico. Now it's a two-way between NC State and Stanford. Um, I don't really know of another team that's really all of a sudden be like, the door is opening. I think it really is a hodgepodge of teams after those two. You know, you have the Michigan, Colorado, Florida State, Michigan State, Washington, BYU,
Mhm.
Arkansas looking better. They've been running well. So, like, I don't know. I kind of, to be honest, given up a bit on trying to get a read on the cross country season because of all these
Don't give up.
weird
We got a
changes.
great hypothetical. We have a great hypothetical here. Don't give up. This is when you need to shine. This is when you need to be at your best right now.
Okay,
You have the
okay.
number one runner. You have the number one runner and a podium team with a chance of winning the title going pro. There's just all sorts of permutations of what can happen next. We need you locked and loaded here.
Yeah. I think the
Give me
biggest
some more.
permutation is Whitney Orton is probably be like, I'm getting my title. Like she was running for second. She was going into the season running for second, and now she's like, wait a minute, second is now first. Like
Mhm.
I might become an NCAA champion in my final senior year. So uh, I think the biggest permutation is Whitney Orton all of a sudden is like, hey, I might be an NCAA champion. So
Yeah, and she was seventh last year, and she ends up being the top returner based on everybody leaving. I don't know how common that is for seventh to be the top returner the next year, but Kelati gone, Monson gone, Izzo and Werner out of cross eligibility, and then her two teammates Burke and Wayment out of eligibility. So it falls to Orton there, seventh. That's pretty remarkable if you think about it. And you also think about Whitney Orton more as a miler, so to think that she'd get her first title in cross country is a bit strange too.
yeah, that is strange when we think about it. Um, I did text Joe Franklin. Is Weini Kelati going pro? I texted him like a week ago. He totally ghosted me. And I guess I
Think
should
that
have
was your
just
answer?
taken the ghosting of like a confirmation of like that's a yes.
Yeah,
But man, why can't you just tell me, man? I asked you, it's
yeah.
like, is she going pro? And you're like, I'm not gonna respond. You know, I should have baited him in by like asking a question that he would respond to. So then you
Well,
have
I
like the
gave you
text already coming in, and then I follow up with it. So I know he's looking at his phone, so you can't just ignore the text. He could probably pretend like, oh, I didn't see it. So I screwed that one up.
I gave you because I had heard rumors, but I gave you a question to ask. Do you remember what it was? He's too
Oh yeah,
smart. He would have caught on.
yeah. You
He's
gave
too
well.
smart. He
You
would have
told me like, are there any changes to the team or something like that?
roster. Any change roster
Yeah.
change that I need to know about. Your idea was probably better, where you just be like, "Hey, Joe, how are things out in Albuquerque? Oh, they're good, Gordon. How are you? Hey, so let me cut to the chase here. I have a question. Now that I know you're on your phone, can you tell me something?" So, Gordon, other than Whitney Orton, who else could potentially enter this cross country title chase now that Kelati is a pro?
So I think first I'd start with the Stanford duo of Ella Donahue and Jessica Lawson. Now we have no idea what type of shape they're in because Stanford did not compete during the COVID season. Um, but they are the other two top returners. They finished 8th and 11th last year. Um, so maybe I'll go more with Ella Donahue, but for some reason I just don't believe in one of them as being an individual champion. For some reason, they seem like a really strong duo that's going to finish top 5 or top 10 together, but for some reason I just don't picture them as NCAA champions. I think, you know, the other potentials you have like Bethany Haas. She's run
Mm-hmm.
well. She had a good indoor season from Minnesota. I got to put my girl Mercy Chalangat up in that mix from
Mm,
Alabama. She won SEC.
Mercy.
Mercy Chalangat, you know what I'm saying? Um, and then it kind of gets into slim pickings. I mean, maybe, hey, hey, dare I say it? Caitlin
Say it.
Tui. Caitlin Tui.
Okay.
We have no
You
idea.
said it.
Maybe
You said it,
maybe
dude.
Caitlin Tui comes in and it's like, This is my time to shine. We don't know what type of fitness she's in, uh, where she is to the winter cross country season. So I
Mhm.
don't know, but right now there really isn't a single athlete that really stands out outside of Whitney Orton. And I think a big reason for that is most of these athletes, they didn't have an indoor championship or an outdoor championship last year to put together a impressive top 3 finish in a 5K, a 10K, a mile, or a 3K, right? None of them
Mhm.
have that, right? And so we're going off of such old resume points that, you know, there's probably 3 names I haven't even said yet, or
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking of, that could finish in the top 5, and we're like, wait, where do they come from? It's like, well, you see, like, it's been 2 years since you're basing your stats off of, so it's gonna be weird. I mean, let me see if this woman is run. Let me check. Hold on. Let me check her T first.
Well, let me just say
She might.
this. You mentioned that we're going off of old resumes, but what we're also doing is anybody who had a resume to begin with is gone. We're like taking them out. So it was
Yeah,
already hard to figure out who was running. And then the few knowns that we did have, the Weini Kelatis, the Alicia Monsons of the world, are not there anymore. So then you're left with the top returner being the person who got 7th last year. The next two are at 8 and 11. And then you're going to get into a bunch of newcomers that we have no idea what they're capable of, particularly in a championship setting. This is just going to be a complete shot in the dark championship year, I think, for the NCAA's, and particularly
yeah.
now for the women, because there's been so much change.
You could argue maybe Dorcas Wasik of Louisville. She was
Mhm.
14th in 2018, redshirted 2019. Um, Kind of was coming back from injury, so maybe she pops off a fast one and is back to health. I don't know, man. Yeah, it is slim pickings to know who
Mhm.
is going to be the one that shines. Hey, if I had a bet outside of Orton, screw it. Just give me Caitlin Tui. I'll take Caitlin Tui right now,
Mhm.
because she's more of a known product right now than the other women. As
Mhm.
weird as that is, as weird as that sounds, but
Mhm.
yeah, the women's race is wide open outside of Orton.
Gordon, I want to talk a little bit about indoors, which I know has just as many question marks as cross country. And if they do it, it's only a couple of days later, or sorry, a couple of days earlier. So there's a lot of mystery there. But I just have one tidbit for you. I think we might have witnessed, in retrospect, the greatest redshirt decision of all time by Lance Harder at Arkansas. Now, this, of course, is complicated by the fact that the 2020 indoor championships were canceled. So obviously, anybody who didn't run that is looking like a genius in retrospect. But put that aside for a second. His top 2 runners, Taylor Werner, Katie Izzo. Werner in particular, because that would have been Werner's last go round at indoors. He redshirted him last year because he wanted them to be available for the home national championships this year in Fayetteville. So she's going to come back this year for her last year at indoors, and she will not have to race Weini Kelati. She will not have to race Alicia Monson, and she will not have to race Whitney Orton. Those 3 are all gone. And Katie Izzo, I know she's got a little bit more eligibility, but she's a title contender too. So you could see 1-2, I think, from Arkansas potentially in the 3 and the 5 this year. That's my big takeaway from looking at this Kelati decision and how it impacts indoors. Just the Arkansas decision in retrospect.
Yeah, and Arkansas isn't now just Izzo and Warner, right? They also
Mhm.
have a really good freshman now. What's her name?
Taylor Ewert. Taylor
Yeah,
Ewert.
Taylor Ewert. So like they are ready to roll. Like I talked about jokingly, they had 5 seniors, or was it 4 or 5 seniors on the cross country squad last year? It was
Four.
4,
Four
4.
plus four
You
plus
know,
Gregory. Yeah.
yeah, you're going all in on the 2019 season, and then you're gonna see what happens, rebuild from there. But now with the Kaladi going pro, the COVID kind of changing things up, Arkansas is now a major player. I think again, they're still be good. They're going to be good in cross again. And now you mention it, their indoor squad is going to be stacked when you bring in Izzo, when you bring in Warner, Taylor Ewert. They're going to be able to rack up all the points on distance and maybe even more because we talk about there are going to be a lot of distance athletes who are just going to, go all in on cross country. But Izzo and Warner don't need to worry about that. They can go all in on
Right.
indoor. So they're for sure see there, maybe not. Maybe Stanford doesn't even bother running, Donahue and Lawson and indoors, and then that just makes it even easier. Like they could probably maybe go 1-2, and it feel like a low key, like it's not going
Like
to
a
be like
workout.
too hard
Yeah.
effort. Like
Yeah.
like they might even be able to like get by like throwing them in like the DMR and do a DMR 5K 3K triple, like
Mhm.
or a mile 5K mile 3K triple, right?
Mhm.
I don't know, but like you just look at the rest of the field. The field's gonna be watered down because of the cross country double,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna be ready to roll. So, and then I'm trying to look up if they have any other like good non-distance athletes.
Mhm.
They have Gianna Edwards, who's an okay hurdler. They have an all right 4x4. I'm trying to see if they have any pole vaulting. They're still very good,
They
so
have
they'll be able to
six
score points.
six pole vaulters. They'll go
Yeah,
1 through
6
6 in the
pole
pole
vault.
vault.
Yeah,
It's just tradition.
they might need a couple more points here and there, but overall they're going to be able to rack up big time in distance because of this Weini Kelati news.
Well, I could see Warner getting called to do at least obviously 2 events, but potentially 3. I think you're 100% right there. 9 of the 16 is what I'm counting from last year. Are back when you take out the seniors and the people who went pro in the 3K and the 5K. But again, last year's 3K and 5K was not star-studded. Remember, that was the theme of last year. We were waiting to see which stars emerged. Yeah, we knew about Kelati and Monson and Orton on the distance side of things, but everybody else was more of a mystery. I'm looking here. Actually, Izzo did not redshirt last year because she was entered in the 3K. So
Yeah,
his decision to redshirt Taylor Werner
that was the big one.
was the stroke of genius. Yeah, there.
Yeah, I mean, you say 9 of 16 returned, but there was only 9 runners who were sub 9 minutes, and
Right.
you have to be sub 9 minutes to be legit. Orton may not do it, right? Because she might just be focusing on cross. Now she might be even more focused on cross because she realizes, hey, I can win cross. Monson is gone. Kelati's gone. Donahue and Lawson might not run because they'll focus on cross country. Izzo will stay. Katie Rainsberger of Washington will still be there. And then Grace Forbes, a sophomore from Rice, is there. So, like, if you had to do Katie Izzo, Taylor Warner versus Grace Forbes, I think Lance Harder likes his odds. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, there's going to be a lot of new. There's
wild.
going to be a lot of new people. There's going to be a lot of new people in here. I think
Yeah.
you're right. Because the Tuies of the world will obviously make a run at it, and we're looking at a new generation, a new crop in there and excelling. I just think it's interesting because you have the possibility last year if Werner ran that, Werner v Monson v Kelati would have been this, and the way Orton was running indoors, she would have been right there as well too in the 3000. And then all those people leave, and she's left there, and she's good on her own. We saw that last year at BU when she ran that really fast time. But now it just things open up for her. So someone's going to need to really impress in the next couple months. Otherwise, that looks like some big points for Arkansas in those events.
Yeah. And then New Mexico, I guess looking at New Mexico, when we want to think about who's like the next, because, they had the Alice Wright era and then the Edna Kurgat era. There is one New Mexico athlete I think that we should start potentially keeping our eye on. Let me bring up her name. So obviously Ava Cohen and Hannah Nuttall are still there, but they've been there for a few years. But the one athlete I think that we should start really looking into is Samira Mabrutu. I'll bring up
Mm-hmm.
where she's from. I think she's from Eritrea.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of her?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's the new one to the team this year, correct? And she was the one
yeah,
that was going to fill in that missing piece and keep New Mexico in that title hunt, and particularly in the podium mix. Now that's obviously changed, but yeah, I mean, Joe Franklin, he's good at this. This is what he does. So I think she could develop into something. It may not be by March. It may be by
yeah.
next November, or maybe a little bit after that. But yeah, they're gonna be fine long term. But nobody's gonna be able to recover from, you lost not just your number one runner, but the best runner in the nation. And you can't be
Yeah.
the same team after that. No one would be. It'd be like
Isn't
Alabama
is
losing Mercy Chelangat. I mean, how would Alabama cope with dealing Mercy? How would you deal with Alabama losing Mercy Chelangat? You'd have nothing to
you know
talk about on the show.
all I know that if Mercy Chilangat now goes on and wins NCAAs, we definitely got to bring back that pod where I ranked Mercy Chilangat 7th in the NCAA, and everyone's like, you and Lincoln are like, who? And then she goes on to
No, no,
win
no.
NCAAs.
Lincoln was on that pod with you. That was one of Lincoln's bad takes.
Okay.
Before he disrespected Wade Van Niekerk, he was skeptical of Mercy Chelangat. I knew that she made the indoor meet, and she didn't get a chance to run the indoor meet. So it's like, well, you don't know how good she would have
Yeah.
done. And there's not, who else are you gonna pick? Who else is out there?
Exactly. I what was I gonna say? Oh, dang it! I had one really good take.
Is
Can't
it New
remember.
Mexico?
No, it had nothing to do with that.
Ah,
Oh yeah, no, here it is. I gotta remember. Who would have thought? Has Danny Jones signed with the shoe sponsor yet?
no, not that I've seen.
Isn't that wild that
Yeah.
Weini Kelati gets a sponsorship before Danny Jones?
Well, Kelati, Monson, Nia Akins. Who else? Is there anybody else out there who's gotten one
Oh,
on the women's side
not
of
that I know
things?
of.
Obviously, the men had Klecker and Oliver Hoare.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in a group. I guess they're working on something, because she's in a group and she's training with folks. I just saw this, and maybe you and Lincoln you and I are doing it again tomorrow, aren't we? I don't even know who's doing what podcast, but Centro is running the track meet this week, and also Shelby Houlihan is running the 5,000 at the track meet this week, which is kind of crazy because her season ended. Her track season ended like that feels like a year ago when she was running those Bowerman time trial races, and now she's back in December. I'm guessing this is just to pick up the standard.
Is this meet on Friday or Saturday?
The half of it is on Friday, half is on Saturday. They're doing the 5s one night and the 10s the other night, because they have a lot of heats. And they need to give Nico Young his own day, so that way you can fully watch it, process it, and get your takes in order for next week. Or actually, it's more like your Louis G takes, because I feel like you've given up on Nico, and now you're on the Louis G train, which is a surprising turn of events.
I want to see a Louis G versus Yared Nuguse 3K. That's what I want to see.
Well, you're about to see a Nico Young versus Centro 5K. How about that?
Centro's in like the slow 5K heat.
Well, there's a lot of heats. He's in you could say the slow one, or you could say the second fastest. If I was running, I would say I'm in the second fastest. But I guess if you're an Olympic champion, anything except the fastest is a slow heat. Yeah, it is. Let me look at this. They had. Well, he posted something on Instagram about how it's like race week. So I feel like if you're going to race, you're going to race. He is.
Or you're going to troll. You're going to troll. Yeah, that works too.
Yeah,
hey guys, race
I guess.
Week,
Yeah,
and
he's
going out there to jog 3K.
He is in the 1330 group. In the 1315 group, I'm trying to see if they added anybody else here. Well, you're just going to get the Louis G. Drew Hunter rematch with Blankenship, Cooper Tier thrown in there. Some other good names as well. But I've just seen no. I've just seen a lot of people post this like race week on their Instagram and not say what race it is. And now I'm starting to assume that it's they're talking about the track meet because there's no other meet going on. I thought maybe
Yeah.
Bowerman was doing a secret meet again, but if Bowerman's not doing a secret meet, then I don't think anybody's doing a secret meet. And then, of course, we could also talk about this tomorrow. That Valencia half marathon and marathon is shaping up to be really interesting with Emily Sisson going for the American record in the half. And then you have Latency Gade, the women's 5,000 world record holder, is in the half. The men's half is stacked. And then the women's full has, of course, Jordan Hesse. So it's going to be a good race.
Yeah. So that's live on Flow as well. So that'll be exciting to watch this weekend. Good weekend of track. We talked about no track races. Now we got the track meet with all the stars and the Valencia Marathon on FloTrack. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good couple days.
Yeah. All right. What color will Weini Kelati's kit be? Is it going to be white or black?
Oh, I'm just saying you got to have a turquoise trim. You got to customize it, for New Mexico. You got to be.
I don't think she's at that level where she can custom. I mean, it took Stephen Curry like 15 years before he got his own brand. I don't think Weini Kelati can get her own brand with Under Armour yet. Just the
trim. Everybody should have the same jersey, and then you just change up the trim. You customize the trim. I'm gonna say black. I think she's gonna go black for white. This 10K debut. I'm excited to see it. All right, we'll leave it there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to everybody for listening and downloading. Thanks to Lon for producing, especially today. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.